You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're back in action after a few days of lying low and watching the Football World Cup. We're going to be talking about England v Pakistan, England's tour of Pakistan. They're there for a 3-match test series. They returned to Test cricket in Pakistan for the first time since 2005. We've got all the info that you'll need to sound like an expert and watch along when the action starts on Thursday at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Early. I'm Jack Hope.
Are you setting your alarm for that, Jack? Are you going to be straight up?
I'm joined by the voice of Max Roy Brown, who's asking me, will I be up and ready? I don't know. I mean, like, the problem is at the moment, let's be real for a second, Max. The Football World Cup is taking precedent over this test series. Like, there's been for what is quite a big series, and for what is a series that has quite a lot of domestic interest from an England point of view as well, there hasn't been that much talk about it in England. But that is kind of understandable because there's a World Cup, like a Football World Cup going on. So yeah, strange scheduling. I will probably, if I'm honest, prioritize the football. We've still got group matches to go. We've got the weekend, the round of 16. But like I think does the cricket outlive the football? Not quite, but it does get to the point where there
isn't a game every day.
Yeah. We've just like today is the last day of 4 matches a day, and that does mean it will free up time in the morning to put TMS
watch some
on
cricket.
Yeah, no. So long story short, I'm not getting up at 5 in the morning.
No, but it'd be quite nice to catch sort of the start of. Well, it'll be the start of the second session with a nice breakfast before work. That's always nice.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, like it's not a bad time for watching cricket. Like you can, if you get up at 7:30, you can watch the whole afternoon session before you start work. And if you have an early lunch, you can watch the end of the day as well, probably. Really early lunch, half past 11 or something like that. Max, what do people need to know about the Cricket Podcast in order for them to engage with us fully?
Well, yeah, on the off chance that you've forgotten us because of the aforementioned slight break to take in all of the wondrous football that's happening, you need to like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button and keep up to date with all of our wonderful content that we throw at you. Head over to Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at the Cricket Pod. We're not on. Are we on Mastodon yet? We paused that because Twitter doesn't seem to be dying after all.
We're gonna ride the Twitter.
We're gonna ride
death.
The death spiral.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's patreon.com/the Cricket Pod to support us directly. We had a show out the other day.
We did.
One of our top patrons. It was a very, very enjoyable chat with Mark. I thought I had a lot of fun. So patrons get to listen to that. They've also got access to the Discord where we talk about all sorts of stuff from as little as £4 a month.
Right, Max. Here are your options. It's another choose your own adventure show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we're here to talk about England v Pakistan. 3 matches. We're going to make some predictions. We're going to talk about Bazball, Ben Stokes, Jofra bowling again. I don't think he's relevant to the series, but that's news.
But it happened.
Shaheen's appendectomy. But we've also got some choose your own adventure stuff around a bid for the 100. Joss Buttler saying he doesn't care about losing to Australia and India taking on New Zealand. So do we want to do the random bits at the end or at the beginning?
Let's do the random bits at the end.
Cool. Well, stay tuned. Stay tuned for that then. Right, England, they're off to Pakistan. Like I said, first series there since 2005. And it is. I mean, we were saying this just off air. It's a really weird one to call. There's so much that we basically don't know. We might as well own up to it. We don't know about what England are going to do and what Pakistan are going to do and who will play for England, who some of the Pakistani players are, what the pitches will be like. I think it's a really tricky one to get a handle on. Like, sometimes you go into these series. When England went to Australia last year, for example,
we all knew what was going to happen.
I think the predictions were something like 4-0, 4-1, and 5-0 or something like that. I think they were our predictions. For this one, this could be anything between 0-0 and 3-0, possibly even 3-0
Either
either
way.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Pakistan probably slight favourites overall for the series with home advantage, and England have got some frailties, and we'll talk about that. But they're also not a perfect team, and their best bowlers out, and they've got a bunch of debutants, or maybe not debutants, but quite inexperienced players. Yeah, really tricky. Max, what are your first thoughts when you think England v Pakistan 3 Test series?
Yeah, well, for this Test series, pretty much exactly that. Normally, I'm thinking, England struggling against spin. I'm thinking late reverse swing from Pakistan's fast bowlers, and a bit of unpredictability, I suppose. That's always the case when you play Pakistan, isn't it? But I still think some of that is going to be there, isn't it? Even the likes of Yasir Shah aren't around for Pakistan for whatever reason. So we'll probably, I'm not even sure 100% who we'll see, but whoever it is, I'm sure England will struggle because there'll be some turn. So we've got that to look forward to. England's old frailties against spin and pace. There's pace, isn't there? Pakistan have got quite interestingly Harris Rauf and Naseem Shah in there, who obviously we saw in the T20 World Cup, and they will offer pace. They may get the ball reversing if it gets old, and that's always fun. We always like to see reverse swing at high speeds, don't we? So I think it's a lot. We got that from the Mark Wood side as well in the England camp. So I think both sides have got a bit of that about them: pace, a bit of unpredictability, not much that we know about with the spin. Obviously, Jack Leach is there, but are we going to see England's second spinner? Is it going to be Will Jacks? Is it going to be Liam Livingstone? He's there. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be a journey for all of us, and I'm really looking forward to it. England Pakistan's always a good battle, isn't it? There's something about it that usually makes it good fun. That T20 series, the 7 T20s that we saw, where we were like, this is too much T20. What's going on? It wasn't too much T20 at all. It was brilliant.
The right amount.
Yeah.
If anything.
Make every series 7. So I'm hoping for more of that. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah. All right. Well, you've done what we're hoping for. Here's what I'm hoping we don't get. Anything like Pakistan v Australia earlier in the year. Or, and we'll start to talk about England now because it's a nice segue into this. Anything like the tour match in Abu Dhabi that England have just played.
Yeah.
Max, I don't know if you were glued to your screen for this. I think we gave the game away a little bit, didn't we, by talking about the football. England
glued to the updating scorecard.
England batting first, got 501 for 7 declared. Lions batting second, got 415 for 9 declared. And then everyone went to I don't know where you go.
Bath.
Yeah, had a well earned bath. It was good for batting. Let's say Zach Crawley 96, Ollie Pope captaining England, 146 of 120 balls. Hashtag Bazball. Will Jacks 84, and then on the other side,
48.
Was it off 48?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Blimey, that's Bazball. And then for the other team, Hasib Hamid turned up, and Tom Haynes from Sussex, neither of whom are in the squad for the actual tour of Pakistan, got 82, and it was a bit of a well, not a meh after that, but nobody really did anything particularly notable. A few guys chipping in. Jofra Archer. I said he was back bowling. He bowled 9 overs and 2 spells on the first day. Didn't take a wicket, but by all accounts,
did as well as anyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
4.2.
Apparently bowling 90 miles an hour. So that's a really good sign for England and I guess Mumbai Indians fans and Cape Town Indians or whatever they're called, Cape Town MI, who have picked him up in the South African cricket. Batting though, this was exciting. 20 off 11 for Jofra Archer, and he's got the memo as well. It's all right. So England. Let's talk England here. They obviously were unrecognisable in the summer versus the sort of 18 months that had preceded that. They've got this new template. Bazball is coming to town. There's going to come a couple of personnel changes coming up, and we can talk about that. But let's go strategy wise because I think that's I think that is one of the things that we can be relatively certain about is that Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum are going to ask for England to play in a certain way with the bat. Certainly, at least in the first test, and I think Baz said as much. We're prepared to lose, trying to win. Was his shtick.
Refreshing to hear.
Was his shtick in the press conference. So let's answer that first of all, Max. Bazball, is it going to take Pakistan by storm?
I quite like the concept. I don't know if I'm just sort of seeing this because England managed to batter their own B team bowlers all over the park, and then the B team managed to batter their own A team bowlers all over the park. And maybe we're just learning that, in fact, England's bowlers aren't very penetrating in Pakistan, which is almost certainly the case. But if we do see something like that Australia series where it was road upon road and teams scoring 700 and whatever it was, if England come and play Bazball and score 600 in a day and a half, suddenly, with that pitch being like it is, there's still a game on, rather than it being almost inevitably a draw or waiting for a fourth innings collapse. It's almost backwards Bazball in that England were catching up in England. Now they could be really putting that, if they get to bat first, or even if they bat second and catch up quickly, there's an opportunity for if you play that way and it works, that in a game that otherwise might meander to a very boring draw, you actually have an extra day for something to happen, which would be quite interesting. I'd really like to test that theory and see if it happens. Ultimately, what may also happen is that we end up getting 220 all out in half a day and have a 600-run deficit to try and save for the rest of the day. But I'm excited at the prospect of some of this happening. But obviously, it will require England to face probably some slightly more dangerous bowling in those conditions. Although, that said, like you said, if it's anything like last year, no one's penetrating.
Yeah, well, that I suppose leads on to the sort of next interesting question from an England point of view. I think they will play that tactic, and I don't know if it will necessarily work to their advantage to speed the game up. It definitely did in England, but I wonder if you're, traditionally speaking, if you're away from home, a drawn test match is a good result. If you get 450, but you get 450 in 90 overs, and the other team got 500 in 2 days, is it actually doing you any benefit to be 50 runs behind with a day and a half left?
On completely knackered.
Yeah. Like if you got that 450 over 140 overs, let's say, you're almost certainly forcing a draw in that match. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting. I mean, that's the joy of Bazball. That is the joy of Bazball.
We've not seen it before, and we'll see which way it goes. Like, you could be absolutely right. It could end up being a bad thing, but also it could give them space to score 750.
It could.
We could see all sorts of records broken. 1,000 runs.
And the intangible factor there is that nobody wants to concede 450 in 90 overs.
No.
Like if you're, it doesn't matter how many runs you've got on the board. If the other team do that to you, that's
demoralizing in the extreme.
Demoralizing, yeah. So who's to say that even if you have a small batting disadvantage or a small run differential against you, that the psychological damage that you have dealt wouldn't pay dividends. England, how are they going to line up, Max? So there's a few options here. They've dropped Lees at the top of the order. That opens up a spot for Duckett or for Keaton Jennings, Jet Jennings. And then there's maybe another place a little bit lower down the order for Liam Livingstone or Will Jacks, or potentially left field, Rehan Ahmed. What are we going to see?
So in the tour match, we saw Ben Duckett opening with Crawley and Jennings at 5. And obviously there was no Stokes.
No Stokesy.
There. So I think what we'll see is probably that combination, one way around or the other. I would have expected Keaton Jennings to open, but maybe they'll open with Ben Duckett and have Jennings at 5. Or 6 if Stokes comes in at 5.
Or not in the team. or not in the
or
team.
not in the team. And then it leaves you with potentially one place between Livingston and Jacks to go along with Jack Leach. I think they will probably go with Will Jacks just because he's had a bit more Red Bull for Surrey in the past year, and it's something he's been working on, trying to actually. I mean, Surrey used him as their main spinner last year, which was quite surprising given they've got quite a range of up and coming young spinners in the squad, in the likes of Amar Verdi and Dan Moriarty. So for Will Jacks to be given that role was interesting, and he did it quite well. He was fairly useful. I don't know if he's a frontline spinner at all, but he's done that job, and he offers a difference to Jack Leach and turning the other way. So he's got that in his locker. So I reckon that's possibly where they will go. But that's probably the decisions, isn't it? They're the two, and pace wise, Ollie Robinson, Mark Wood, and Jimmy.
So I'm pretty sure, based on what I've read and heard and who I've heard it from, that Ben Duckett is going to be the England opener. He's been doing the media rounds, telling everyone how he changed his grip. People who have been following England for not even a while, for 5 years, will know that he had a spell as an opener against Bangladesh and India in 2016. It didn't go that well for him. In fact, it went quite badly for him. He then went away, fiddled with this technique. That went wrong. When have you heard this story before? He then fiddled with his technique again, I think at the beginning of last summer. Rediscovered, he says, his old grip, and that meant he can play all of his old shots, and he's good again. Had a great season, scored 1,000 runs in the championship at an average of about 70. Probably deserves another shot. So it'll be him and Creepy Crawley opening the batting. Pope, I imagine, will stick around at 3.
Yeah,
ton in the warm up. They've made him captain.
That's a vote of confidence if ever I
heard
one.
That's what vote of confidence. Then you got Root. I think they'll stick with Harry Brook. Who made his test debut at the Oval at the end of the summer against South Africa. Had moments where he looked pretty good, and I think he got out kind of stupidly in the one innings that he batted. Was he out hooking to deep square leg? I think he was out caught on the boundary.
Yeah, that's a bonus in this team, isn't it?
After looking pretty solid. Stokes at 6. Obviously, they're going to stick with Ben Folkes, the only wicketkeeper in the squad, or the only proper wicketkeeper in the squad, I'd say, which I think tells you all you need to know about what England think, at least for the short term, or the short medium term when it comes to keeping. Yeah. And then I think,
especially overseas as well in spinning conditions.
Yeah, I think this number 8 question is really interesting. I agree with you. I think that they probably will end up going with Will Jacks and then doing Robinson, Anderson and Leach as the other 3. I also kind of wouldn't be stunned if they played 3 seamers. So they brought 4 seamers on the tour. They've got Overton, they've got Robinson, they've got Wood, and they've got Anderson. So they do have the option to do that.
Yeah.
Wood, we know, is ruled out of the first test with an injury, so it won't be in that one. I think they'll go with Jacks in the first one. But I wouldn't be surprised if a little bit later on in the series we maybe see them move to that. I mean, the thing is, we don't really know. And this is where it's really difficult. I think I guess the advantage of playing Jacks in the first match is that he is probably good enough to play as a frontline batter, or at some point in time you'd think would be good enough to play as a frontline batter. He'd be a very, very good number 8. And if it is quite flat, is there much difference in bowling between him and Jamie Overton, who's the potential other one? You can make the same argument about Liam Livingstone, but I'd probably venture that Will Jacks is a better bowler and maybe complements Jack Leach with the 2 different variations of spin. Slightly better. So I think that's where England will go, but I don't know. It's the first match. I'm just getting the schedule up. Yeah, the first match is
Rawalpindi.
Rawalpindi. Yeah. So if you if you don't watch everything in world cricket, Rawalpindi is where Pakistan and Australia played their first match earlier in the year, the 4th of March, the 8th of March, my birthday. There were 14 wickets in the test and 1,150 runs. So nobody went anywhere particularly quickly and nobody went out at all. Pakistan combined, I think, was 720 for 4.
Yep.
After that, after that game, Imam Ul Haq, who is an okay player, but I wouldn't venture. I wouldn't have him as an elite opener. Let's say back-to-back centuries, to a century in both innings. So that I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. We don't know what they'll do, but if it is a pitch like that, obviously it's a completely different season and a completely different set of objectives for Pakistan. But yeah, if you're England, I'd probably be going with Will Jacks.
Yeah, I mean that's worth bringing out the objectives. Obviously, this is part of the Test Championship. England, after their disastrous Ashes, have absolutely no hope of getting to the final. So for them, they're just playing through their matches. But Pakistan are still in with a shout. So they're going to want to win 3-0. So realistically. So they might have to put something out that can force a result. I'm not suggesting it's going to be a Bunsen burner, but the hope is that there'll be something slightly more exciting than
less crap
than 720 for 4.
Yeah. So that's I guess a lot of the England news. Ben Stokes has said he'll be donating his match fees for the series to the Pakistan flood appeal as well, which is a nice thing for Ben to do. Announced that on his social media. Anything else on England for you, or that we should consider?
Do you think we'll see Rehan Ahmed by the end of the series?
No.
Just there for the. They almost said, didn't they? They almost said he's there for the ride when they picked him.
Yeah. Unless there are injuries, you never know. I mean, like Jack Leach has been sick and has been injured in the past. Livingston got like a little bit of a recurring hamstring injury that irregularly rules him out. So that, maybe they both go down and they want to play 2 spinners, and it's Will Jacks and Ahmed. Maybe not. I think it's very much a come along for the journey type section. Didn't he go like 10 and over in the warm-up match?
Yeah, he got tired all over the place.
It was ironically
73 off 8.
Maybe not ironically, but it was Will Jacks and Liam Livingstone who did all the damage as well. Wasn't it? It was, they knew
what they were doing.
Absolutely trashed his figures. I wonder what will happen if England have to do a lot of bowling. And they do only go with 3 seamers.
Joe Root will bowl a lot.
2 seamers, so it'd be Robinson, Anderson, and
Stokes won't have any legs left.
Stokes, yeah, because none of those 3 are exactly what you would call a workhorse. You're not getting loads of overs out of them. Somebody's going to have to come through big as a spinner. It could be Leach. Leach has bowled well on the subcontinent before, so if we get one of those pitches, could be good. Do you want to talk about Pakistan?
Yeah, let's.
So they have made some changes and they've got their own selection headache. Let's deal with Shaheen Shah Afridi first of all. He is out. I can only get confirmation for the first test, but I think it might be all of them. He's had an appendectomy. So his knee after the T20 World Cup final apparently was fine. There was a bit of swelling and some soreness related to, I think, the hyperextension when he caught the ball, but no serious damage. So in theory, that's fine. But he has had his appendix taken out, and that's quite invasive surgery.
Did he go in for surgery for something else, or did he have appendicitis?
No. I'm not. I assume he had. I assume he had appendicitis. So he's out. Good. Get well soon, Shaheen. Yep. It's a shame. It would have been nice to see him.
It would.
There's also no Fawad Alam, no Yasir Shah, and no Hassan Ali. So they're people who have played a reasonable amount for Pakistan in recent times that will not be in this match. Pakistan have also rather unhelpfully not confirmed exactly who will be in the squad. I think they've decided to make some changes, something like that. So on ESPN, which is where we go, for this information. You can see the England squad that was being announced for the first test, but the Pakistan squad has yet to be filled in. I think they've said roughly who they'll be bringing, so we do know a few of the names, and there's a couple of interesting ones that we will point out. And there's also some, I don't say main offenders, some usual suspects.
Yeah,
not main offenders. I don't think
familiar faces.
Babar Azam was a main offender. But yeah,
he was at the T20 World Cup.
He was a main offender. There's a couple that I want to highlight. If you want to know a bit more about Pakistan cricket and who might be playing, Abdullah Shafiq, the opening bat, who after 7 tests averages 66. I'm excited to see him play. I don't think he's a particularly exciting opening batter. I think he might be more in the Alistair Cook mode,
right?
If you like, but it's a healthy average. A couple of centuries as well in 13 innings. Obviously, he got to play in the run bonanza against Australia, but you can only score runs on what is laid out in front of you. The other Max, and this one should be exciting, is Abrar Ahmed, who is in for Yasir Shah. This season in Pakistani domestic cricket, he played 6 matches, taken 43 wickets. That seems relatively handy. Do you know anything about this chap?
Let me do some maths. I can tell you that he's a left-arm wrist spinner, and that should send hearts in England racing, because that never ends well.
Yeah. A career average of 25 at that level as well. This is the player that everybody, when you read about it and so on, everyone from a Pakistan point of view is quite excited to see in international action. I think it's really hard though to actually call who Pakistan will play. There's a few other spin options in the squad.
Nawaz, for example.
Yeah, Nawaz. I think it's going to be an interesting one. Max.
Yes.
What do you expect to see from Pakistan?
I don't know. I literally have no idea. I think, I expect to see Abdullah Shafiq open the batting with Imam Ul-Haq, followed by at some point Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, and from there I haven't got a clue. I'm gonna be honest. This is Pakistan. It's vintage Pakistan. They're keeping everyone guessing. Like you said, they haven't even told us what their squad's going to be. It's going to be fun. But I really would like to see Abrar Ahmed. I'm always in favour of young spinners getting a first go against England. It only ends one. Only goes one way.
Nauman Ali and Nawaz or something like that. That's
probably
yeah. It's look, we have got a squad. I'm going to read out the squad wisdom of. I don't know if they've got it or not, but here's who. Let's say who's in the Pakistan squad. We've got Babar Azam, very good player. Rizwan, probably more of a white ball specialist, but handy enough. Sarfraz, backup wicketkeeper. Don't expect we'll see him. Abdullah Shafiq, as we mentioned, pretty exciting prospect from the point of view of the future of Test cricket in Pakistan. Abrar Ahmed, we're not really sure if he'll play. We want him to play. It would be good. Azhar Ali, he'll be batting at 3. I'd have thought that's not a bad top 3, is it? Imam, Abdullah Shafiq, Azhar Ali, Babar,
Rizwan,
and then Rizwan coming at 5.
That's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid batting lineup.
I think the bowling's where it is quite hard to say.
Yeah. Who
will play? There's a bunch. I'll just run through the rest of the squad and we can speculate. Fahim Ashraf, Haris Rauf, Imam Ul-Haq I've mentioned, Muhammad Ali, Mohammad Nawaz, Mohammad Wasim Jr., Nasim Shah, Nauman Ali, Salman Ali Agar, Saud Shakil, Shah Masood, and Zahid Mahmood. I don't know what Shah Masood's around. Maybe he'll come in for Imam. It's Pakistan. It's very hard to say. I imagine we'll see Haris Rauf and Naseem as the 2 sort of frontline seamers, and then a couple of spinners. Possibly with Mohammad Wasim as a kind of. I don't know. They seem to think he's an all-rounder. I don't.
You disagree.
They might try and shoehorn him in or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't actually even know how good this team are. from a Pakistan point of view, and like actually this is sort of reflected in the betting markets. I had a look at the odds for the first test. I think Pakistan were 2-1, and the draw and England winning were 3-1 each, something like that, or 4-1 each. So it is, yeah. I think it's a game that is going to be interesting to call. But call it we shall. So Max, Rawalpindi starting on Thursday. What do you think the key battle will be, and who is going to win?
It will be all about the batting. England's top 5 against Pakistan's top 5. I think bowling wise, penetration is going to be difficult. I think either side could struggle to take wickets, but I just think it's going to be maybe whether that extra yard of pace that Pakistan are going to have, given that England don't have Mark Wood in, Harris Ralph and Naseem Shah, assuming they play, which we think they will. And the unknowns of the spin, it leaves a lot up in the air. But I think that little extra bit of pace for Pakistan is going to be the key thing that England's batters are going to need to negotiate in the way they play.
Yeah,
and that will go a long way to deciding how the game goes.
Yeah, I think the key battle will be what pitch is laid out. I agree. We saw in England that England at times looks genuinely troubled by Anrich Nortje and the South African quicks. Harris Ralph and Naseem have got the pace to potentially cause problems in that area too. I think if it really spins, England can be troubled as well. I think the thing that might play the thing that balances that out with England is that Joe Root is probably the best player of spin in the world, and if you try and bowl spin at him on a pitch where it isn't sort of spitting and stuff, you're just going to feed him.
And we do also have a couple of spin specialists in the squad for once. Ben Duckett. Ben Duckett's sweep versus Pakistan. That'll be a big battle.
So I mean, like if it ends up being a complete demon, like the India series a year and a bit ago, England will really struggle. They're not that good against spin, but if it's just spin bowling, there are 2 or 3 players in that team that are perfectly capable.
Ben
Folkes
is a really good player.
Ben Folkes and Ben Duckett. I was going to say, and Stokes himself is no slouch. And they'll be aggressive against those spin bowlers. I think we can almost guarantee that whatever the surface, they'll be aggressive against the spin bowlers to try and wear out Harris Ralph and Naseem, assuming they are the guys that play. I think a draw is where I'm going to go with the first test, and I think Pakistan will win 1 or 2-0 overall.
Okay.
What did you do an overall?
I think it's going to be 1-1.
Yeah.
I think England will nab 1. I think Bazball will do something, but there will be a draw. I'm fairly confident that there will be a draw, and Pakistan, home advantage, and they're such a good side themselves. I'm sure will also win 1. I think it's quite even, and I think that seems a reasonable guess from my point of view, but we will see.
Cool. So there's some other news, and we'll run through this quite quickly. This week, it was announced that the ECB have been offered £400 million sterling for 75% of the 100. I don't think it's really clear whether they're or how seriously they're considering this offer, or who it's come from.
Private equity,
etc. Private equity is all we know. Which that could be anyone, couldn't it? It could be owners of IPL franchises. It could be one of the sport. There's the multiple sports investment groups that float around. It's very hard to say, and it's very hard to say how seriously the ECB are going to consider it. I have heard that it is less than they thought the product was worth. But at the same time as that, there's quite a lot of activity in the cricket business market at the moment, isn't there? So
there is.
Perhaps that's driven up the price.
I did read sort of what Richard Thompson was saying, sort of in response to it, and he seemed quite hawkish, I suppose, in his sentiments, in that he thought we should not rush. It's a very early bid. It's only 2 years old. There's a long way to go. It's got a long contract. We want to grow it. So I think, from what I can tell, the thinking from the ECB side is not to jump at the chance and grab the cash, which is refreshing. I think refreshing and surprising, and probably the right call. I think whoever's come in is obviously trying to take a punt and get a march on someone in the hope that the 100 does end up being as big as the ECB hope it will end up being.
Yeah.
And I think the ECB would be right to hang on for a bit and see how it goes. That's I think it's a very prudent approach from the ECB, and for once, I'm going to find myself agreeing with them and complimenting them on their strategic decisions. Well done. Nothing to do with the fact there's an ex-Surrey man in charge now.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Josh Butler, after the 3-0 series loss to Australia, said, "I'm not fussed about being whitewashed." Max, what does this mean for the future of cricket?
It's over.
Do we agree that it was completely pointless?
I think Josh Butler should be banned from cricket for the next 5 years. Because if you're not playing to win, why are you even there? It's an absolute disgrace. It's an affront to the game, and he should be thoroughly ashamed of himself. In other news, I completely agree with him. I don't know why they were even there in the first place. We didn't even cover it.
Yeah. I mean,
we just conveniently ignored the whole thing happened, and I'm happy we did.
Yeah, I mean, England clearly didn't take it that seriously. I'm not sure Australia did too. There was nobody there watching it. I mean, what was the point of hosting these matches if
no one's going to turn up?
You actually can't get people to show up. And I mean, apparently there were 10,000 people at the game at the MCG. If it was half that, I'd be surprised. It was. Yeah, I mean, it was completely pointless, and it taught us nothing as well.
Yeah.
Like, it was the worst
who
of
goes
all
and
worlds.
pays a load of money to watch cricket for the World Cup in Australia and goes, right, that was good. Now time for the main course, this 3-game ODI series against England.
Yeah,
I enjoyed my canapes.
And then finally, on the topic of sort of relatively pointless series, India are over in New Zealand at the moment. They've been playing 2 back-to-back white ball series. India won the 1-0. They won the 1-0 T20s. A sensational victory, which included a tie after Duckworth Lewis Stern had an impact on one match. India are losing the 1-0 ODIs. There was a rain off in the second match. There's one to play there. It's
been a bit wet.
Much of a muchness. If Ross was here, he'd be moaning about Sanju Samson not playing, and that kind of really is the story that
they're sticking with Ishan Kishan and he's still doing nothing.
Yeah. Do India not want to be good? That's the question. Do you want to do some questions? We had a few questions in from.
Always happy to answer questions.
Cool. Mark says, what pitches should Pakistan prepare to have a good chance of winning? They kind of messed up versus Australia. And what's the highest innings run rate England will achieve this series? What would you say?
Let's start with the second one first. I think England will 5.2 at one point. I reckon they'll get up to 5.2.
Yeah,
and they'll probably be going higher than that, and then it'll temper down when the bowlers come
there's
in.
no Stuart Broad.
No Stuart Broad to keep things
going.
I think Pakistan, are gonna need to get something out where there's actually some bounce. That might be tricky because it's in Pakistan, but I think the pace. I mentioned before that's a key battle. I think something where the pace actually does something will be important. Maybe where they can get it reversing as well. But I mean, there just has to be enough in it for the bowlers. I don't think they have to do anything spectacular to get a set of pitches where they can win the series. They just need something that will bring a result, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pakistan should try and see through the Bazball hype and prepare pitches that are good for Test cricket and trust that in home conditions they'll win. And also accept that they might win the series 2-1 because England could pull something off. But don't leave yourself in a position where England can win 1-0 by having a fluky performance. Which is what I think could happen. Tilal asks, will England beat Pakistan in the Test series? And I think we sort of answer that there. I mean, it could happen. It's not inconceivable. I think Pakistan are favourites, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vinay says, which English bowler is capable of turning the match on its head in these conditions?
Mark Wood has the pace to do it if he gets fit. And I think Jack Leach can do it as well. If it's turning a bit, like you said, he bowled well. He's bowled well on the subcontinent. He can do some work. But I think England are lacking compared to Pakistan in the game changer front. But they have options.
Yeah, I mean, I think Leach would be quite crucial for England. If he bowls well,
Yeah.
then they have a chance.
Maybe
but
leaving out Ollie Robinson's a bit unfair. We haven't properly seen him, have we? In these sorts of games.
Don't think we've ever seen him in these
No,
conditions.
I mean we saw him in Australia, obviously, and then he got injured and had to bowl off spin with sunglasses on. So that's one to look out for.
And finally, from Vinay as well, which English player who is not in the squad will be missed the most? It's got to be Bairstow, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Right. Well, that's a good way to end with Johnny Bairstow.
As all things should end with Johnny Bairstow,
presumably. Goodbye, Max, and goodbye, listeners. We'll be back. We'll do some actual coverage of the Test match, obviously, to work out when.
Hopefully, we
exactly
can get some post-match shows in.
Yeah, we will, and we'll look forward to talking about it. Get in touch with us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and enjoy the World Cup and cricket when that comes around.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.